Hello, friend. I'm glad you stopped by today. Thank you very much. Glad you're here. I took the liberty, as you will see here in a second, to pre-assemble the base of our Tranquil Garden. And for the past few hours in trying to record an episode, I thought, you know what? It would make for a very dry and boring and monotonous content to do all of this when I could pre-build it for you today. And as you will see, this incorporates bags 3 and 4 of our LEGO Tranquil Garden. And the base looks very similar to the bonsai tree that I have in my collection. And what this will do, let's move some of these aside here, is allow our tea house to sit kind of like this, is how I imagine it. I haven't spoiled the instructions yet to see exactly how it will go. But this shares with us our theme for today, which is another element of design and application and experience in a tranquil garden or a Zen garden or a Japanese garden or a healing garden, which is asymmetry and imperfection. That's done on purpose. And my ADD, OCD, ADHD would, normally it would want things in a particular order, and you'll see in the surrounding parts and pieces that I have nulled out or separated parts in some type of an order. So my first thinking would be that your tea house needs to be perfect, but that's not the case in gardens such as this, where they try to instill some element of imperfection. And that adds into the enjoyment or the experience of what a Zen garden is supposed to be. So we're going to set our tea house to the side, and as usual, we have a couple of special guests. As always, we have our garden designer, Master Minifig Hoichi, and we have a base for him to stand on. There we go. So we'll set him here. And then we have Minifig Mike, who in real life, in the course of his career, has seen many job sites, some of them dirty jobs. So we have our guests, we got some water, and I encourage you to just sit back and enjoy and relax in this tranquil garden. So we'll touch a little bit on the element of asymmetry and imperfection and what it means. Some of the key elements that I want to point out to you: in the base, you'll see what is almost like a river, a creek bed that empties into a little pond. I'm going to tip this up for a second, and if you can see this element, there's a couple up here, there's a couple here, and over here. These are koi fish that are printed on the tiles. Again, this is an ideas set in the LEGO series ideas. Or no, I'm sorry, icons. Ideas. Anyway, it doesn't have any stickers. Yes. So part of this base or foundation made me think, how do we build a business? How do we build a safety program? You have to have a solid foundation. And there are rules and regulations and policies and procedures which must be in place. But then at the same time, we have to understand the human element of that scale. Not everything is perfect. There's over 7 billion people in the world, and we're all wired differently. So there's going to be elements in a business or a safety program where that human behavior comes into play. So you have your rules, regulations, policies, and procedures, things we have to do. To be compliant, you should abide by and be following these rules and regulations. Then you got the human element, skipping steps, cutting corners, taking shortcuts. And that scale can tip either way many times throughout a company's lifespan. So as we're building and talking a little bit about this element of philosophy, it relates back to the first philosophy, which I touched on in a previous episode, which was creating harmony with nature using natural elements like a pond or rocks or wood into the garden experience. What we have here are lily pads, and I think I'm going to find another. Talk about your asymmetry in taking order out of disorder, disorder out of order. So we have a few lily pads that we're going to build here, and I think we're going to do 4 of these. And these elements of the various LEGO design. Of course, some of these pieces are so small. As I was rehearsing this, and a few of the pieces went pinging out all over the place, I'm like, oh boy, there goes another treasure for the vacuum cleaner. But thanks to very adaptive feet, I was able to find those. I'm stepping on them. Let's see, we have 4 of these, so let's go ahead and at least get our pieces out here first. So there's 3. And then we have our lily pad tops. Now, as I said, bags 3 and 4 created the base. And these finish up that element. And, oh, look at this. We're finding some treasures. Are those gray? Those are gray. Let's see. There's a lily pad and a pond lily. Do you ever watch a koi pond? It's just, again, very zen-like, very meditative. And these fish are swimming around, and there could be, I think, one restaurant I visited that had a koi pond in the restaurant, in the sitting area when you were waiting to be seated. They must have had 10, 12 koi ponds. These were big, big koi fish. And they were swimming around, and the person who was seating, the host or hostess, had some fish food and put some fish food in the pond, and the fish all went crazy. Oh, it was really cool to watch that. So we're going to find, here's one here. We're going to add a lily pad and a lily flower there. We're also going to put one here. And then we have another one right here. And then we have another one. Is it down here? Oops, that almost fell out. There we go. Let's do, let's see, we have this one right here. There we go. Actually, I don't want to cover up those koi fish. Uh-oh, there we go. I want to see what this will do if I place it there. Okay, so there is up through bag 4. So let's adjust our building instructions here. A fun fact, pond shapes usually, they represent, and again, I apologize for my poor Japanese, kanji. It's a system of Japanese writing that carry signs of significance, such as, I don't know, a heart. So those symbols are built into the garden designs as well. And all right, so one garden philosophy, we touched on this the last time, was that creating harmony with nature. Today, we're going to look at asymmetry and imperfection. Now, Todd, you're going to ask, what is asymmetry? Good question. I had to look this up myself as a refresher. I thought I knew what it was, but it turns out I was right in having that refresher. So asymmetry is the difference between equal parts or sides that something is not identical on both sides. So you have example, your brain. You have a left brain and a right brain. They both look similar. They look like they could be the same, but there are subtle variations between both hemispheres of your brain, left brain and right brain. It could be shape, it could be the little folds and creases that make up our brain pan. And yes, I do believe there are some people out there who have a brain. I've tried to use mine from time to time, which is just a whole lot of fun. Okay. Let's see. What's another element of asymmetry? You can look at faces, people's faces, left side of your face, right side of your face. And there have been studies that show a very good examples of asymmetry. No two faces, no two sides of the face are exactly the same. There's those subtle variations. Physical objects, biology, like I said, the human brain, and in abstract context, like communication. It relates to that imbalance between the speaker and the listener. You ever run into a situation where you're with someone and you're engaging in a conversation and they seem to be always thinking of the next thing they want to talk about? It can be frustrating at times when you realize that the person you're engaging a conversation with is really just trying to think of the next thing they want to say, instead of being fully immersed in the conversation you're trying to share with them. And in business, if you're negotiating contracts and things like that, it's important to develop that sense of communication. When it's askew or imperfect, then that could cause issues later on. Let's see, what other elements for design, like a garden? Asymmetry can be purposeful. It can be deliberate and a choice by the artist to create a visual interest. Where do they want your eye to focus in any particular window in your field of vision? What does the artist envision in that design? And then leaving it up to the viewer to interpret that during their own healing or meditation. So it can be something to celebrate in that imperfect sense of balance. And it also can lend just that unique element of artistry. I am amazed by folks that are professional artists, whether it be music or pottery, acting. The effort with which they put themselves in to create a space that can be interpreted not just through their work, but then received from the audience. Musicians, for example, across the centuries, have embraced both symmetry and asymmetry in their work. Artists like Beethoven, to Bach, Mozart, and as a listener, without any semblance, I make no claim to have a musical gene in my body. To listen to these pieces of works of art and appreciate that at some point all the stars aligned for this particular piece to come alive. Do I have those the right way? I believe I do. So we have that and we have those. So rather than striving for absolute perfection, and in certain cases you do need to have that, like in science or math, there needs to be a perfect result in order for the equation or the experiment to move to that next conclusion or to understand a hypothesis. But rather than striving for perfection in our lives, the Zen gardens, they embrace asymmetry and that beauty of the nature, the immersion in the environment, and those little imperfections help remind us that we live in an imperfect world. We human beings, we are imperfect. So rolling back to the beginning, we can't expect perfect symmetry in our workplace. When the scale tips between what we have to do, those rules, the regulations, the policies and procedures, and what we want to do as human beings, skipping steps, cutting corners, in order to get the job done on time and under budget. Nobody I know, including myself, is perfect. We can strive for perfection, but it is in the journey, not the destination. I'm a safety guy, but I also am a little bit of a philosopher. We're all asymmetrical in some way, shape, or form. And recognizing and learning and listening and understanding and interpreting and then sharing these concepts, these variations, makes us all unique. It brings us together within this how do I put it? Self-retained, self-realization. We can work together. We can use our training and we can watch out for each other. All right, I've chatted enough about philosophy. Let's get to building, right? Shall we? Today I've got another element of the YouTube audio library. These are free tracks, and this meditation music is titled Envato. So listen in. I'm going to turn it down just a hair, and we'll build for about 30 minutes and then call it a day. I'll wrap up with a summary at the end. And here we go. Building on our tranquil garden. One more step, and then we're gonna wrap it up for today. One more step. Well, that'll take us up to, but not including, step number 84. And I appreciate you taking time out of your day today for this. In closing, I'll repeat that within the self-realization of a Zen or healing or Japanese type of garden, that we can work together. We can find ways to work together, to overcome adversity, use our training, and watch out for each other. Not everything can fit perfectly. Sometimes you need a little bit of imperfection in order to see the bigger picture. Using our training, watching out for each other, that's one of the foundations for building a very successful, accident-free workplace. There's a garden somewhere out there created just for you. When the going gets rough, take time to cultivate peace of mind, body, and a healthy spirit. We're all in this together, changing the world one accident at a time. Next time, I think we're going to touch on the philosophy of mindfulness and contemplation. Please like, subscribe, and share this channel with others. Leave a suggestion, a comment, or a constructive critique. I'll put some of the outlines of what I discussed in the description. My name is Todd, your personal workplace safety philosopher. Thank you for joining me on this tranquil journey, and we'll catch you next time.